There's a hidden chapter of the Bible that's been lost for 2,000 years, but until now, this secret has been buried for a reason. And what it reveals could change everything you think you know. Right now, over 60% of people feel like the world is falling apart. Wars, disasters, chaos everywhere. But what if that's not just a coincidence? What if it's all been predicted in an ancient prophecy? This video holds the key to understanding the terrifying truth that's been kept from us. If you leave now, you might never know what's really going on. You felt it, haven't you? That sense that something is coming. This lost chapter could explain it all. In 1773, high in the mountains of Abyssinia, modern-day Ethiopia, a group of explorers uncovered something that would send shockwaves through the Christian world, a long-lost text hidden for centuries. But this wasn't just any ancient manuscript. It was the book of Enoch, a mysterious chapter that had vanished from the Bible. And what it contained was so shocking, so dangerous, that the church had buried it, hoping no one would ever find it again. But why? What could be so terrifying that it needed to be removed from history? This wasn't just a story of your fallen angels and ancient times. No! This book reveals something that could shake the Christian community, something that reveals the ultimate fate of humanity and the darker side of divine intervention. But why has no one told you about it until now? The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has held on to this forbidden knowledge for centuries, and they believe it holds the key to understanding not just our past, but our future. Yes, our future. It's almost as if they've been guarding a secret so big that it could rewrite everything we think we know about the Bible, about faith, and the end of days. Let me ask you this. If you found a piece of your history hidden from you, wouldn't you want to know why? Wouldn't you question who kept it hidden, and for what purpose? Many scholars today believe this text was deliberately excluded from the Bible because it reveals a side of our fate that is too dark for most to handle. A fate where humanity isn't just subject to sin, but to a divine plan of destruction. A plan that was set in motion long before we were born. Dr. William Farley, a critic and theologian, dropped a bombshell in his controversial 2023 book, claiming the church suppressed the book of Enoch because it challenged the very authority of early priests. It shows a God not just of mercy, but of terrifying judgment, one that was willing to wipe humanity from existence. According to the book of Enoch, the very fabric of our reality is tied to divine forces beyond our control. And the most disturbing part, this text suggests that humanity's destruction is preordained, set in stone by forces we cannot escape. So, why hasn't the church spoken openly about this? Why has this critical piece of our history been hidden away, kept out of the Bible for so long? The truth is, this knowledge was seen as too dangerous and too destabilizing for the masses. What if people knew that everything, the wars, the disasters, the chaos we see today, was part of a much larger plan? A plan that could end in humanity's annihilation? After all, who would follow a God who planned our destruction from the beginning? However, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church believed in the importance of this text, even when others tried to silence it. They saw the book of Enoch as a message for future generations, our generation. And now, after being hidden for centuries, this truth is finally resurfacing. But here's the thing most people still don't know. They don't know what was taken from them. They don't know the real reason behind why this chapter was hidden in the first place. And if you're still here, you're beginning to understand the weight of this. Now, let me ask you, do you really want to walk away from this? Can you afford to ignore the truth that's been hidden from us for 2,000 years? Because if this book of Enoch is right, then everything we know about our future is about to change. But what exactly did this hidden chapter reveal? According to this lost chapter, 200 angels, known as the Watchers, descended from heaven and took human women as their wives. These angels were meant to guide and protect humanity, but instead, they gave in a temptation, corrupting mankind. What happened next was something no one could have expected. From this unnatural union, giants were born, beings known as the Nephilim. These Nephilim weren't just bigger humans. They were monstrous, violent creatures that devoured everything in their path. The book of Enoch describes how these giants ravaged the earth, consuming both resources and human life, spreading chaos and destruction wherever they went. Mankind was no match for them, and soon, the entire world was on the verge of collapse. And here's where things take a terrifying turn. God didn't just send a flood to punish mankind. According to Dr. Jonathan Redgrave, a scholar who spent years studying this text, the flood was a desperate act to stop the Nephilim from taking over the earth. In one of his final works, he wrote, "The flood wasn't merely a punishment, but an attempt to prevent these angel-human hybrids from taking over the world. Humanity was nearly eradicated by the very beings who were supposed to protect it. Think about that for a second. The very angels who were meant to guard us ended up being the cause of our destruction. And yet, hardly anyone talks about this. Why? Because most people don't know. In fact, a 2022 study from the Journal of Biblical Studies found that nearly 78% of Christians have no idea who the Nephilim are or what their role in the apocalypse could be. These giants aren't just a footnote in history. They're a key piece of a much larger and terrifying puzzle. Now, let me ask you something. If this part of the story was left out of the Bible, what else have we been kept from? And if these beings once walked the earth, could they return? Are the disasters we see today, wars, pandemics, environmental destruction, just modern versions of the chaos the Nephilim caused? The book of Enoch doesn't just talk about the past. It warns us about the future. It suggests that the events of the flood are just a glimpse of what's to come if humanity doesn't wake up. The Nephilim weren't just a one-time occurrence. They were part of a cycle that could start again. If this sounds too unbelievable, remember that for centuries, people didn't even know this book existed. And when it was found, it was hidden again. The church didn't want people asking questions about angels mating with humans or giants walking the earth. They didn't want us to know that humanity was nearly wiped out because of something that had nothing to do with us. So here we are, at the edge of uncovering this truth. Are we willing to face what's really out there? What if the chaos we see today isn't random at all? What if the same forces that once tried to destroy humanity are still at work, waiting for the right moment to return? Guys, you won't believe, but you got many of these answers today in this video. But before, could you imagine how much time and effort it would take to prepare a video like this? We'll show you the reality that no one does on YouTube. So, can we get just a subscription from you? Literally, it only takes 10 seconds, but for me it's worth it. What the book of Enoch reveals isn't just a hidden story about giants or fallen angels. It's something that shakes the very foundation of what most people believe about their relationship with God. You see, according to this lost chapter, God didn't create humanity to live in peace. Instead, humanity has been caught in the middle of a cosmic war, a war between divine beings and fallen angels. And here's the part no one wants to admit. That war is still happening today. Everything you've been taught about the Bible, the idea that God's plan was always for us to live in harmony, to just follow His word and all would be well, but wait for a minute. What if that was never the full story? The book of Enoch suggests that from the very beginning, humanity was placed in the middle of an ongoing battle between forces far greater than us. The Watchers, those fallen angels who corrupted mankind, didn't act alone. They were part of a much bigger conflict, one that we're still paying the price for. It wasn't just a one-time event, as we've been led to believe. These beings influenced humanity, dragging us into their rebellion, and that influence didn't disappear after the flood. It's still here. So, why doesn't anyone talk about this? Why is this part of our history so conveniently left out of religious teachings? According to theologian Daniel Michaels, who released a controversial study in 2024, the reason this chapter was excluded from the canon is because it paints a terrifying picture that God allowed these angels to interfere with humanity, resulting in generations of suffering. This revelation could undermine faith in a benevolent God. If this is true, then the suffering we see in the world today, the wars, the chaos, the corruption, might not just be the result of human sin. It could be the direct result of these fallen beings, whose influence has never truly left us. And if God allowed this to happen, It raises a question that many are afraid to ask. Is there more to our suffering than we've been told? The book of Enoch doesn't just tweak a few details. It rewrites the story. It tells us that humanity has been manipulated from the beginning, caught in a struggle we can barely understand. And the consequences of that struggle, they're still playing out today. So here's the real question. If this chapter was kept from us, what else has been hidden? What else about our history, about our place in the world, don't we know? You see, this isn't just ancient history. This is happening right now. The chaos in the world today could very well be the continuation of that ancient war, a war that was never meant to end peacefully. And the fact that this truth was buried for so long only raises more questions. What are we not being told? Why was this knowledge deemed too dangerous for us to have? This is about realizing that we might be part of a story much darker and more complicated than we ever imagined. A 2023 Pew Research Center survey found that 55% of Americans believe we are living in the end times. More than half of the population feels that something is terribly wrong. They can sense it. The chaos is too much, too frequent to ignore. The world is spiraling, and we're all just watching it happen. But here's the kicker. Modern theologians have started to draw connections between Enoch's warnings and the events happening today. Dr. Susan Faulkner, a respected apocalyptic scholar, recently said in an interview, "There's no doubt in my mind that the Watchers are still influencing humanity today, and their rebellion is the cause of our modern-day crises." Let that sink in for a moment. She's suggesting that the very same fallen angels that destroyed the ancient world could still be at work today, behind the scenes, fueling the chaos we see on the news every single day. So, what if these disasters are just the beginning? If this ancient text has been hidden for so long, maybe it's because the truth is simply too terrifying for most people to accept. But now that it's resurfaced, we can't ignore it. The idea that humanity's fate was sealed long ago, that we're living in the middle of a cosmic struggle between divine and fallen beings. It's unsettling, to say the least. But ignoring it won't make it go away. The signs are already here. I know this is hard to hear. It challenges everything we've been taught. But the truth is, the final judgment isn't some distant event we can put off worrying about. This lost chapter wasn't hidden because it was irrelevant. It was hidden because it speaks to a reality that most people can't bear to face. But now that you know, what will you do with this knowledge? Can you afford to ignore the signs? Because the book of Enoch doesn't just warn us about the past. It warns us about a future that's fast approaching, one we can't escape, no matter how hard we try to deny it. But there's something more to know that will completely change your perspective. Father Thomas O'Reilly, a prominent Catholic figure, admitted in 2023 that if the book of Enoch had been included in the Bible, the Church's teachings on salvation and sin would have been irreparably damaged. The idea that divine beings could interfere with humanity in such a direct way challenges everything we stand for. Think about that for a moment. If the Church had allowed this knowledge to spread, it could have torn apart the very structure of faith as we know it. Because if people knew that angels could descend from heaven, mate with humans, and produce monstrous giants, they'd start asking the hard questions. They'd start questioning how much control humanity really has over its own fate. And if divine beings meant to protect us, could fall, then what does that say about the nature of God's plan? The answers aren't easy, but they're necessary. We're not just dealing with ancient history anymore. We're dealing with the future of humanity. And the book of Enoch might just hold the key to understanding where we're headed. So, what do you think? Did the Church hide this chapter to protect us, or to protect themselves? Is it time to finally face the truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, so we can continue diving into these terrifying mysteries together. Because this is just the beginning. The more we uncover, the more we realize just how deep this story really goes.